Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari.
Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari.
Vanachari.
Yamunatira Vanachari.
Yamunatira Vanachari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Thank you. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravikacharya Ashtotar Shri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Charya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravikacharya Ashtotar Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we'll be reading from 5th Canto, Chapter 18, Text 38. Karoti Vishva Sthiti Samyamodayam Yasyapsitam Nipsitam Ikshitur Gunai Maya Yatayo Baramiti Tad Ashrayam Gravno Namaste Guna Karma Sakshine Karoti Vishvastiti Samyamodayam Yasyapsitam Nipsitam Ikshitur Gunai Maya Yatoya Barameti Tadashrayam Gravno Namaste Guna Karma Sakshane Karoti Vishvastiti Samyamodayam Yasyapsitam Nipsitam Ikshutur Gunai Maya Yatayo Brahmeti Tadashriyam Gravno Namaste Guna Karma Sakshane Karoti Vishvastiti Samyamodayam Yasyapsitam Nipsitam Ikshutur Gunai Maya Yata Yobameti Tadashriyam Gravno Namaste Guna Karma Sakshane Gravno Namaste Guna Karma Sakshane Karoti Vishvastiti Samyamodayam Gravno Namaste Guna Karma Sakshane. Anyone else want to try? Okay. Synonyms: Karoti, performing. Vishva, of the universe. Sthiti, the maintenance. Samyama, winding up. Udayam, creation. Yasya, of whom. Ipsitam, desired. Na, not. Ipsitam, desired. Ikshutihi, to who. of one glancing over. Gunahi, with the modes of material nature. Maya, the material energy. Yata, as much as. Ayaha, iron. Brahmeti, moves. Tat ashrayam, place near that. Gravnaha, a magnetic stone. Namaha, my respectful obeisances. Te, unto you. Guna karma sakshane, the witness of the actions and reactions of material nature. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. O Lord, you do not desire the creation, maintenance, or annihilation of this material world, but you perform these activities for the conditioned souls by your creative energy, exactly as a piece of iron moves under the influence of a lodestone. Inert matter moves when you glance over the total material energy. Purport. Sometimes the question arises why the Supreme Lord has created this material world, which is so full of suffering for the living entities entrapped in it. The answer given herein is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not wish to create this material world just to inflict suffering on the living entities. The Supreme Lord creates this world only because the conditioned souls want to enjoy it. The workings of nature are not going on automatically. It is only because the Lord glances over the material energy that it acts in wonderful ways, just as a lodestone causes a piece of iron to move here and there. Because materialistic scientists and so-called Sāṅkhya philosophers do not believe in God, they think that material nature is working without supervision. But that is not the fact. In Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Adilila 6:18-19, the creation of the material world is explained as follows. Yadyapi sañcāre māne, pradhāna, kāraṇa, jaḍa, ha-ite, kabhu, nahe, jagat-sṛjana, nija-sṛṣṭi-śakti, Prabhu, sañcāre, pradhāne, īśvarera, śaktye, tabe, haye, nirmāṇe. Atheistic Sāṅkhya philosophers think that the total material energy causes the cosmic manifestation, but they are wrong. Dead matter has no moving power, and therefore it cannot act independently. The Lord infuses the material ingredients with His own creative potency. Then, by the power of the Lord, matter moves and interacts. Sea waves are moved by the air is created from ether. The ether is produced by the agitation of the three modes of material nature, and the three modes of material nature interact due to the Supreme Lord's glance over the total material energy. Therefore, the background of all natural occurrences in the Supreme Personality is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Maya dikshina prakriti suyate sačaracharam. This is also further explained in Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Adilila 5.59-61. Jagat-sṛjana, nahe, prakriti jaḍa rupa, shakti, sañcāre, tare, Krishna, karikripa, Krishna, śaktye, prakriti, haye, gauna, kāraṇa, agni, śaktye, lauha, yache, kāraye, jarana, ataiva, Krishna mula jagat-karuna, prakriti karuna yachi ajad jala stana. Because prakriti, I'm sorry, I know. Because prakriti, material nature, is dull and inert, it cannot actually be the cause of the material world. Lord Krishna shows His mercy by infusing His energy into dull, inert material matter, nature. Thus Prakriti, by the energy of Lord Krishna, becomes a secondary cause, just as iron becomes red hot by the energy of fire. Therefore, Lord Krishna is the original cause of the cosmic manifestation. Prakriti is like the nipples on the neck of a goat, for they cannot give any milk. Thus, it is a great mistake on the part of the material scientists and philosophers to think that matter moves independently. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaisnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostade Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshware Vishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamame Hare Pre Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnabhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
I just want to interject in case anyone was missing it. When the verse and purport were talking about a lodestone's like a magnet, I guess. So I didn't know that.
Thank you. So, my spiritual master, His Holiness Badri Narayan Swami Maharaj, he would always use this phrase. This is the either or question. Either this creation it happened by chance or by design. And you can see that the whole world, they're trying to solve this puzzle. It's a great mystery. There are 4 subject matters that are puzzling everyone. God, creation, purpose, and the afterlife. And all of these deal with past, present, future, just like it's explaining here, the creation. And a lot of people, they ask this question, why would God create this material world? And in the purport, it mentions that Krishna doesn't want to create it, but it's for the conditioned souls to try to enjoy it. An example is like a small child. A small child wants to cook for the parents, but the parents, they will not give or not allow the child to cook directly into the stove, the fire. So they buy a place set, a plastic stove, plastic utensils, plastic ingredients, so the child can be safe. But sometimes the child chokes on these little toys. So similarly, Srila Prabhupada, he always mentions that this material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. Everything that we do here is also there in the spiritual world, but we try to enjoy it without Krishna. And someone who studies Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, they can fully understand these 4 aspects, that there is God, the purpose of creation, and what happens when we die. I was distributing books at the harbor. The harbor, that place is a place for austerity for book distributors. It's very difficult to get people to the table. Not only that, but they're not so interested, so you have to use your wit or creativity to get them to the table. And I was talking to this so-called atheist guy. He was very intelligent. And then when I asked him, what is the purpose of life, he couldn't answer it. So I told him, does that make sense? I told him everything in this world has purpose. The purpose of a watch is to tell time. The purpose of a microphone is to amplify volume. Everything that we see in this material world is a creation. A table, it holds things, and then a chair, it is for us to sit. So when I told him, what is this purpose that we have in human life, there's no purpose to it. And I told him, does that make sense? And then he said, it doesn't. So I told him you should get these books. It'll explain everything. So I was able to, you can say, plant a seed in him of curiosity. He took a set, he gave a donation, and he walked on his way. But so many people, they're questioning these things. What is this material world? Why are we here? What is the purpose of existence? So it's the devotees of Krishna, Srila Prabhupada, to give them the answers. And in the Ramayana, it says that the success of a gift depends on the intention it was given. So when we distribute books, what are we doing? What are we giving to these people? Are we just handing them a book, or are we really trying to help them? I was at Balboa Park yesterday. There was 3 of us in the same side also. Dimitri Prabhu, Mogalila Prabhu, and myself. And I met this lady. I was explaining to her our philosophy. You know, non-violence. We don't eat meat. We don't like the taste of bones, flesh, blood. And I also told her that we're trying to help people go back to the spiritual world, but ultimately to develop our lost relationship with God. And she said something interesting. She said, "You sound like what Christians should be." So I smiled, and then, so she noticed there was a lot of hypocrisy in religion today. And we had a nice conversation. And so the reason why she said that is because the 4 regulative principles that Srila Prabhupada established, it saves us from sinful life. No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, and no illicit sex. So this lady, she really found it to be wonderful that there are people out there that are practicing these austerities. So, and another example is that a king, he constructs a prison house, but he does invite everybody to go there. It's only for the criminals. So similarly, this material world, we, you could say, committed a big crime. We wanted to take the position of God. We turned our back towards Krishna. And now we're down here. And Srila Prabhupada, he would use the word rotting. We're rotting here in this material world. We're trying to enjoy. And as criminals, we're in shackles. And these shackles, they're compared to the lusty desires or sex desires that we have. The attraction between a man and a woman, or for a man to a woman and a woman to a man. But in today's times, there's a same-sex attraction. And Srila Prabhupada, he would say, if someone is shackled, we need someone free to release us. So that person is Krishna, his representatives, our spiritual master, that can actually help us break free from these shackles. And there's a famous saying, Daivi Esha Guna Maye, Mama Maya Duratyaya, that this divine energy of Krishna, consisting of the 3 modes, is very difficult to overcome. So we can't do it on our own. But those that surrender to me, Mam Eva Ye Prapadyante, Mayam Etam Tarantite, that they can easily cross this material world. And I speak to a lot of people on book distribution. They limit God. They say God can't come to this material world. Why would God have a form? So then the question arises that, are you limiting God's power, right? If God created this material world, why can't he come here? Why can't he check it out? Just like a king, he creates a prison house and he's more than free to go in and out as he pleases, but he's not subjected to the rules there. So similarly, Krishna created this material world, but why does he come here? Exactly. He explains that in the Bhagavad Gita, Yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, that whenever there's a rise in irreligion and a decrease in religious practice, or sign of Bharat, at that time I descend myself. Krishna comes to this material world. He came 5,000 years ago, and the latest 500 years ago, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he gave us a very easy process, just like in the morning, Dravida Prabhu, he was reading the most simplest and easiest ways to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There's no need to be a Brahmin. There's no need of performing austerities just like the previous yugas. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gave us a very simple way out of this material world. And by chanting this Maha Mantra, it purifies us. It purifies our desires. It may take some time, but it's there. And I was reading in the 6th canto, the Jamil pastime. So they were discussing this idea of sinning and atonement. And so Parikshit Maharaj, he tells Shukadeva Goswami that when someone knows that they're going to sin, but they atone for it and they keep doing it again, he considers it to be useless. Just like an elephant bathes in the river, he cleanses himself nicely, and then when he goes back on land, what does he do? He needs a huge gumcha. But if he doesn't have a gumcha, he uses dirt. He throws dirt all over himself again. So this is what we consider cheating religion. And a lot of people that I meet on book distribution, they think like that. I can do whatever I want as long as I take shelter of someone, I'm saved. But I tell them we also need to do our effort. We don't just keep sinning and then hopefully we'll go back to heaven or the spiritual world. And Shukadeva Goswami, he compares this as the leaves of a bamboo. It may be burned up, but the root, since it's still there in the soil, it has an opportunity to grow again. But Bhakti Yoga, or devotional service to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it actually uproots the desire to commit more sinful activities. And I was explaining this to the Mataji at Balboa Park, and she was amazed. I told her before I joined, I was eating meat, I was doing this, I was doing that, and I gave that up. And she said, how did you do it? So I always mention this, that my very inspiring friend, His Grace Balaram Prabhu, he said, if I can do it, you can do it. So if someone like me can take to the process of devotional service, anybody can do it. It's you have to give up your, you can say, old habits and develop a higher taste. And so everyone knows that God is great, but they don't know how great. I was talking to some lady at the harbor, and I asked her, what motivates you to get up in the morning? And she said, I want to help others. And I was surprised that a lot of people, they give me this answer. I want to help others. I want to do the best I can for my children. And it's rare that I hear that they do it just for money. It's very rare, actually. So I tell them, that's why I'm here. I'm here to help you and everyone that I meet. So I was explaining the books, how we can make a difference in someone's life. And they say, I would like to do that. Actually, that's one of the questions that I ask now in book distribution. I say, I have a question for you. And when they come to the table, I ask them, how would you like to make a difference in the world today? And they'll smile and say, I'm doing that every day. And I tell them, but how are you helping people? And then they can't give me an answer. So I tell them these books, they have 8 books. You can give one to your friend. You can change someone's life with these books. And I tell them I read this book, The Science of Self-Realization, and it transformed my heart, my consciousness. When we go out on book distribution, we should always remember that we're giving Srila Prabhupada's association. And they need the association of a pure devotee to change their course in life. If you leave a car on the road, will that car move on its own? No. So it's practical that this material nature is dull matter, just like you were saying. It needs a person, a living person, to actually move it. Just like an energy house, it has unlimited energy. It can supply energy to the whole city. but it needs one person to push that button. It can't move on its own. So this idea of the creation was created by matter is very silly, actually. And you can see it in everyday life. Like what Maharaj was saying, a stone, it will remain in that same spot for millions of years. It'll never move. Because it's dull, there's no living force behind it. Just like a dead body. A dead body doesn't move. And what is missing in that dead body? The soul. Like what Dravida Prabhu says, the soul animates the body. As soon as the soul leaves the body, it becomes a dead corpse. The mind stops functioning, the organs stop working. And so many people have different words for the soul. Consciousness, energy, light. But Srila Prabhupada explains that it's the spirit soul that's needed for the body to work. I was distributing books at Balboa yesterday. And, you know, the Philippines, the country, it's a very, very poverty-restricted country. And in the West, they worship dogs, but in the Philippines, they eat dogs. It's a real chandala country. And there was this young man, he had a shirt, it had a picture of a dog, and it says adobo. Adobo. Adobo is a type of Filipino dish, and it is made out of dog. Yeah, and it's like a Filipino thing. He was Filipino. Yeah. And then so he was with his group of friends, and all of them were Filipino. And then so they were asking each other, where should we eat? And then this lady said, oh, there's a dog right there, why don't you eat it? And then so the young Filipino man, he said, oh, no, I don't eat dog. And then the guy said, why did you wear this? So the guy said, oh, I just wear it to represent my culture, like that. So people are eating so many abominable food stuff, but they don't know why. Just because it's part of their culture, they do it. And I was trying to get their attention, but they were ignoring me. So then there's 5 types of people. It says that people that like you, those that dislike you, those that are neutral, those that you help, and those that help you. So these are the 5 different types of people. And so someone that helps us in Krishna consciousness, they're our friend. And then there are those that, the people that needs our help, those that we help come to Krishna consciousness. And on book distribution, you see so many people, they're in Maya, illusion. There was this old man with the back brace at the harbor. He was very old, he had a back brace, but he was still trying to enjoy life. And his poor wife had to help him walk. Why? Because he hasn't cultivated Krishna consciousness throughout his life. So his only purpose is to try to enjoy as much as he can, even in old age. So it's very unfortunate and it's very sad, actually. When I saw that, I was thinking how many people are suffering in this material world. Millions, billions. So the devotees, out of their compassion, they want to help these people out. The sun and the moon, it rises and sets exactly at the same time. And the seasons, they change exactly like how it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So that means there is a design in this creation. And where there's a design, there's a designer, Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that this material world is moving under my direction. Just like a shadow. Durga Devi, Maya Devi, she's considered to be the shadow of Krishna. Wherever Krishna looks or wants to go, she moves in that direction. I was distributing books again yesterday. Balboa Park, there's different, you can say, emotions at the harbor, Balboa Park, La Jolla, even at Coronado. I was distributing books, like I was saying, and Balboa Park, and I see so many people, they walk back and forth. They're looking at every building to see if there's any entertainment there. And when you try to get their attention, they say, no, thank you. So these are the people that are neutral. They don't really want anything to do with you. I was distributing books at Coronado. I had the opportunity to distribute books there for a few hours before I was kicked out. And this lady, the first lady that came to my table, she was saying, thank you for doing this. So she inspired me to stay there longer. And then a few other people came. They said, you know, meditation is very important for this age. And I told her exactly. I told her in this age, everyone is busy. I have to go here, I have to go there. They don't have time to reflect on life, or they don't have time to prioritize what's really important. So she took a set. I gave her a little flower, and she was grateful for what we were doing. And speaking of flowers, we like to bring flowers sometimes. And yesterday there was this Mataji at Balboa Park. She took a set. She gave a very nice donation, and then I gave her a flower garland. And I told her these are real flowers, and she started crying because this was probably the first, thing that someone has done nice for her. And so when we give her these nice little gifts, they appreciate it. And I told her we make garlands every day at the temple, fresh flowers. They're not plastic. And I told her you don't have to go to Hawaii to get them. And she started laughing. So I gave her an invitation to the Krishna Lounge. And so I was hoping she was going to be here. I don't know if she did. And so when I was distributing books in Coronado, I stopped a lady on her bike. I said, excuse me, are you a teacher? And she said, how did you know? So then what we do is we puff them up. We tell them, you look very intellectual. Or if you see a man, you say, are you an engineer? And they say, yeah, how do you know? You look very scholar. And then it gets them to the table. So I tell them that these books, they'll help you to make the right decisions in life. And everyone can relate. We've made bad choices in the past. Either it's friends, the type of food, relationships, whatever. So we've done so many silly things in our life, but these books, they guide us towards the right direction. And the lady with the bike, she didn't have anything to put the books in. So she said, maybe I'll get it later. So I told her, you know how many times I hear it? So she said, I told her 50-70% of the people that tell me that they don't end up taking the book. So I told her, just tuck it in your arm like it's a baby. She said, I could do that. So she rode off carrying the sets of books with her. It was very nice. And so when we go out and distribute books or give our association to the outside world, we are compared to as the Vishnu Dutas because we are the carriers of Lord Vishnu. And so Jamil's father and mother, they were very old in age. They didn't have any friends or family to look out after them. And so after the Vishnu Dutas saved Jamil, he was lamenting. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada, he says that this is the mentality of one becoming a pure devotee. First, he regrets his past sinful activities, and it helps him advance in spiritual life. So not only should we regret our past misdeeds, but we must always regret doing them. So we want to do better. We want to be pure devotees. This lady asked me yesterday, how can you give up alcohol? I told her, first of all, it tastes like urine. And then she said, I can see that. So I told her, you don't need to drink, it's actually poison for you. And then so I told her I haven't drank in over 7 years now. And she said, wow. And I told her I used to drink all the time, I used to think that was the life. So after giving her a book, and I showed her the book, The Higher Taste. She liked it. I told her, you don't have to eat meat anymore. You know, these books, they help you to make nice meals for yourself and for your family. So she smiled and she said, thank you. And when I asked her for a donation, she said, how much do people usually give for these books? I told her, you can give whatever you would like from your heart. They liked that. And then so she gave a nice donation, and she said, I wish I can give you more, but this is all I have. So I told her, no, this is more than enough. Thank you. It goes back to printing the same books. So she liked that. So we should give our association. We should remember why we took our vows, is to get away from that old person we used to be. I was driving to Los Angeles with Caitanya-caritāmṛta Prabhu, and he said something that always stuck with me. He hasn't visited his parents, I think, or his family in a few years, but he said when he visits them, it feels like he's already gone thousands of lives. But when he speaks to his family, they're still arguing about the same thing. You know, my aunt or my uncle said this, and you know, it's money, this. So in that way, we are always changing. We're actually becoming a whole different person than we used to be. Okay, that's all I have. Is there any questions, comments, corrections, reflections? Dimitri?
Piece of news or information that's pertinent to what you're talking about. The fewer and fewer Americans are even believing in God now. Back in the 50s, actually the high point was around 55. It was almost 95, 98%. And now it's down to 81%. So it's an emergency. 81% do not believe? No, do. Yeah, America is amazing in that regard. A lot of people, I think part of it is because there's been so many scandals in religion, you know, and when people see that, oh, wow, you know, this is not, they're not living up to their creed and everything like that. But it's an emergency situation out there. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Dravida Prabhu. Yes, Bhakti.
We should see the correlation between dog ownership and the belief in God, you know. Like dog ownership goes up. Believe it. Like, yeah, there's a correlation between them. They chart them since the 1950s. I like this the shloka, and that word or that term, guna karma sakshine. Can you define that again? And can we talk about that? I think, is that the super soul they're talking about?
Let me see.
With that indwelling witness, they said. It's a really awesome term, and I'm kind of wondering what your thoughts on that are.
He seems like it. The witness of the actions and the reactions of material nature.
So it's not indwelling; it's the witness, in general, not within us.
Yeah, super
soul. Okay. So why is they using the super soul in that context and not Krishna directly? Is there like the special position of the super soul that's occurring there in terms of how it's related to the shloka?
So remember, there's three realizations: the Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. And Paramatma, that's when the super soul within everyone. So maybe I don't want to speculate, but maybe Dravida Prabhu or anyone else can add to this.
About this word?
Yeah, this phrase, the super soul.
Yeah. That I can see. Maybe when you glance over the material energy, because this is what the verse is about. In other words, it's about the creation and how the Lord's involvement in the creation. So therefore, the verse is talking here about and namaste. He's offering obeisances to you, who are the witness of all the guna and karma. So in other words, it's that's why using that phrase. I mean, this is not what is it? I mean, that concept is there in the Bhagavad Gita, so much Lord Krishna is in the heart, and he's seeing everything that we do. And when it says, what is it? You know this verse, Balaram, that by the witness of the guna and karma, one gets a certain body and is injected into a womb like that. I forget the exact Sanskrit. But when they're describing the workings of the material energy and the movements of the living entities and the destiny of living entities, this phrase is often used, that Krishna there's a witness. Prabhupada, he tells a story about when he was studying philosophy, and he studied philosophy in college. And the concept of karma, meaning that you're awarded good or bad things according to your work. And this teacher was asking me, yeah, but who's the witness? In other words, there's punishment for them, there has to be a witness. And it's pointed out, yeah, the witness is the super soul. But the Scottish teacher, you know, didn't believe in that, the indwelling Lord. But he said it's a very good question. And the very good answer is yes, there's the super soul who sees all your activities and all your thoughts and everything, and therefore can perfectly award you karma.
Because Krishna he's not so concerned. He's playing in the spiritual realm. He's not so concerned about our karmic reactions. So he has this expansion in our heart. So it's funny when we're in trouble, like you look up to pray, but you should be going like, hey, yokes. No. Yeah, because that's where it's all happening. Yeah, it's like, what are we doing? Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
I was just thinking, anyway, it's kind of a controversial debate, but I was thinking of this verse. You could kind of relate it to the fall of the Jiva debate. I was thinking if Krishna doesn't desire to create this material world, he only creates it for the enjoyment of the living entities, then, you know, how could we, Hare Krishna, how could we be in this material world eternally if Krishna doesn't desire to create it? Why would he do that? Mm-hmm. Anyway, I was just thinking that.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone from Zoom? Or Bhakti Dimitri? Prabhu.
No, you go first. No, please.
No, you go, Bob.
Really persistent man, huh? Book distributor. I didn't want to keep on being persistent too, because I could be persistent as well. But yeah, you brought up it's an interesting point about you ask people. I think you said you asked people what's important or what we should be doing.
What motivates you?
Yeah, what motivates you is, I want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, okay, well, how are you helping people? And a lot of people, they kind of don't know what to say, or how did you help someone today? Or they don't really know what to say. I was speaking with one devotee from Croatia, Suvarna Bindu Prabhu, and I was asking him what's his experience here in America, you know, with people and this and that. Or I think I also asked Radhe Shyam, maybe both Prabhu, but I think they both said the same thing, that they noticed that the Americans, they tend to be very helpful. You know, like they dropped, someone will, if they dropped, I think they gave the example that they dropped their bag in the airport and then somebody come up and, you know, help them and this and that. But what I wanted to bring up was that although they may have this helpful nature, a lot of the times it doesn't go past dreaming. Mm-hmm. Like you mentioned, oh, how are you helping people? And they said, oh, you know, they didn't know what to say. Like one devotee, he was giving a seminar recently in ISV, and he asked all the devotees in the audience, what do you prefer? There was a question. If you have a conflict with someone, what do you do? Do you bring it to the GBC? Do you talk to the temple president? Do you talk to the devotees? Or do you talk to the person? And practically everybody said, oh, you talk to the person. If you have a problem, you talk with the person. So that was everybody's answers practically. So then his next thing he brought up was that, okay, if all of you are saying that if you have a problem, you should talk to the person, my next question is why so often do people don't do that? Because everybody says, oh, you have a problem, just talk with the person. And then the question is, well, why doesn't anybody do that practically? They always talk with somebody else. Anyway, so they were discussing that. Maybe because it's easier, you talk with somebody else about how you're having a problem with someone, I don't know, maybe gossip or whatever, this and that. So but relating that to the point of helping people, everybody will say, oh, I want to help everybody. I want to help somebody, right? We're into helping people. But then the question is, okay, well, how are you helping them? Everybody says, I want to help somebody, but then what are they doing practically? Mm-hmm. So you can see that this desire to help people, it may be there and it's good. But one is that it doesn't go past dreaming a lot of the times. With non-devotees, it doesn't go past dreaming. And also with devotees. We want to, I want to help people. I want to help people. Okay, but what are we doing? It has to go past dreaming. Mm-hmm. You say, I want to help people. I want to help people. I'll go out and I'll distribute books. I'll distribute books. Okay, but are you going out? Or I'll make this plan. I'll make that plan. I'll make so many lofty plans. Okay, fine. That's good. But you have to execute the plan. Or else it's just in the mode of ignorance. It's not going past dreaming. So that's one thing. Another thing is that they have a desire to help people, devotees and non-devotees, but they have to know how to help people. Mm-hmm. Or else you're just, like they say, oh, we're helping so many people, right? We're feeding them Thanksgiving, we're feeding them a bunch of turkeys, billions of turkeys, right? It's like, okay, they have a desire to help people, but they're doing it the wrong way. Mm-hmm. The big organizers who are organizing all those millions of turkeys to die, and also all the good-hearted, misplaced, good-hearted people who go down, who drag their bodies down to the big food, wherever they do it. I don't know, here in San Diego, big auditorium, and serve out the food, for hours. They're misplaced. So one, it doesn't go past dreaming, or two, they just don't know how to help people. Mm-hmm. So that's a nice thing about being a devotee is that, or being a follower of Srila Prabhupada, is that he's teaching us to help people past the dreaming stage, means to actually help people, and he's teaching us what it means to actually help somebody, both. So anyways, I was just basing that. So thank you.
Just one quick story. I was asking that question, how are you helping others? This guy, he was so puffed up, he said, I'm amazing, and he just walked away. That's it. I'm an amazing person. Like that. That's how, yeah.
I walk around and everybody's benefited.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, just to let you know, there's one question pending on the Zoom.
Okay.
So I just have a very quick story, and similar to that one. I was in a Walmart parking lot distributing books, and I walked up to a guy and I said, "Hey man, are you a model or a movie star, man?" And he goes, "Nah, man, I'm just beautiful." And then he just walked away.
Thank you. I have a kind of technical question, so maybe, sorry. When the Lord glances over the material nature, the modes of material nature start to interact, it says in the purport. And then from that comes the ether, So I'm just wondering how is that the modes of material nature start to interact if before they're creating the ether, and how are they affecting people? So so they're interacting, and somehow they have to affect living entities, but the ether is not created, so the living entities are not affected by the mode. So how does it all come to place? I'm just trying to figure it out, if you can.
So Srila Prabhupada, he says that Krishna, he can do any senses, the functions of any other senses with any other sense. Does that make sense? So with his eyes, he can impregnate material nature. So that's when he can, I don't know. Śaktye, Prabhu?
Ether, yes. Like, how is it? Yeah.
I guess my question is how is that the modes of material nature interacting? How is that, how we can perceive that, the interactions of the modes?
Well, you can't perceive it at that level. I mean, they just have to hear how the false ego interacting. The false ego interacting with the mode of ignorance produces these elements, you know, and when that happens, then gradually the senses develop. What's good is the ether and the sound if you have no ear. So this is all under the supervision of the Lord, Maya Jakshena Prakriti, because it's not going to help to have a creation if there's no way for the living entities to interact with the creation. And so this is all this complex way in which it develops. How that does, that's a mystery. I mean, it's just it's, you know, the whole thing is amazing. How when you read, you know, the third canto, it details in great, as mentioned here, and the whole message is that there's this incredible intelligence that has organized things in this way that develops, and finally the end result is what we see here, where the living entity has a way of interacting with material energy through the body and through the, you know, and all of these other elements are working. But to try to figure out how it's going on, you know, it's going on by the super intelligence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Well, is your question that in the purport, Prabhupada says that the sea waves are moving, but they're moving from the air, and the air is there, you know, due to the movement of the ether, and the ether is there due to the modes of material nature, and the modes of material nature are moving because Krishna glanced upon them. And you're saying, I think, is your question that, well, how are the three modes existing when there's nothing for them to like interact with? Like the three modes of material nature exist, but ether doesn't even exist yet. So how does that work? I think that's your question. I mean, it's there in second canto. It's the point that kind of keeps coming up, like verse and purport again and again, is that subtle, actually, the creation goes from subtle to gross, which is counterintuitive, because we always learn that, first you have, some big gross elements, and then from there, subtleties come, and then all of a sudden life and consciousness comes from, once all these gross, elements combine, then all of a sudden then there's consciousness, so that the subtle thing is a side effect, or, is a product of the grosser thing. But it seems like in second canto it keeps coming up that actually the way it works is that subtle makes more and more gross, and it's not really intuitive to us. But when you read those...
Can you give an example of, like you were saying just now, that usually it's gross to subtle? Is that what you're saying?
Gross to subtle, yeah.
Can you use the microphone?
Yeah. Well, gross, there are certain elements, so there's hydrogen, and then eventually there's helium, and then eventually, so these elements, then there's more and more elements, and once there's enough elements, that because whatever, I guess hydrogen somehow becomes helium, and there's some kind of fusion or something, yeah, so, but as things develop, then greater and greater elements develop, and then over time, then, certain greater and greater molecules develop, and then by the arrangements of these molecules, and there's greater and greater productions, and then eventually it creates, more complex systems, and from these complex systems, then there's life. And from life, then there's consciousness. Is that, not well said or anything, but... Well, I guess I think we'd have to go back and look at those second canto verses and purports where Prabhupada's emphasizing that it goes from subtle to gross, because in those purports he's saying how it seems counterintuitive, but it's explaining how actually first there's ether, then from ether comes air, from air comes fire, from fire comes, did I get that right? From fire comes water, from water comes earth, and it seems like it's the opposite. It seems like, okay, well, from earth, then part of earth is water, and therefore you can take, water can come from earth, and then from water can come, temperature and this and that, and heat, or fire. So I think I can't exactly say. I think that's where I'm just saying that's, I think, where we'd look.
There's a chapter in the third canon, 27 called Understanding Material
Hare Krishna, can you use the microphone?
Chapter 27 of the third canto, Kapila Dev's teachings. It's titled Understanding Material Nature. And maybe before that you should read chapter 26, the fundamental principles of material nature. You start with those two, and then read those two carefully and take notes, and then we'll come back and discuss.
Yeah, I'll look at it too, because I should, yeah. It's funny because we have so many classes, and then afterward, it's like if somebody asks me, it's gone. So I should look back too.
Okay, Vijay Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Govardhan Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams.
Hare
If I may, my question is related to the four defects of the conditioned soul, namely imperfect senses, committing mistakes, becoming deluded, and the propensity for cheating. My question is, can you give me at least one sign that shows that the liberated living entity is already liberated from these four limitations?
So, Srila Prabhupada said we can't come to the absolute truth by our speculative research. So we should hear from the parampara system, coming from Krishna to Lord Brahma. So then we have perfect knowledge. And these liberated souls, they pass down the knowledge to us.
I'm sorry, but I just want to clarify this because Vijay Krishna Prabhu is asking that the conditioned soul has these four defects, but how is it? How do we know? How do we show? How do we prove that there's someone who's liberated and therefore liberated from these four defects? My understanding was that even a pure devotee isn't liberated from these four defects when they have a material body. So, like Prabhupada when Prabhupada was here, he would still. He may forget a shloka or something like that. And so in that sense, he has this body, which is, the body's limited. So it seems to me that a liberated soul doesn't need to be free from those four concomitant factors of a material body when they choose to inhabit one, right?
The one defect is free from is cheating. That's there are mistakes. Part of my job is finding mistakes. Most of them are committed by the editors, but occasionally Prabhu would leave a word out. Sometimes the word would be not, and the meaning would be reversed. So we have to fix that. But he's not. There's no cheating. He's giving the absolute truth. And when there's some problem in the transmission, then giving us service to do. But that's just because the senses are inevitably limited, and so naturally, there might be some defect there. But the point is understanding the absolute truth and giving that is the basic thrust of life, and so that's completely different from the ordinary conditions. So.
Do you think we could more accurately say that these are the four defects of a material body rather than four defects of a conditioned soul? Because someone could not be a conditioned soul but still have those.
Because I think you probably find that phrase
right
or equivalent that this
yes.
is the four of the conditioned soul in the books. Yeah, that's another one. There's no illusion, no cheating. But the senses may be imperfect, obviously, and therefore there may be some mistakes.
So you got your 3 answers, Vijay Krishna.
Yes, I got it. Thank you very much to all the devotees who contributed. Amazing, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.